Greetings, denizens of the interwebs, and welcome back to Tokusatsu Smoke Break, where I talk in the parking lot and confuse everyone walking by my window. Today I want to discuss how I got to work on the film Notzilla. There are certain things that I'm not allowed to talk about because the film has not been released yet, and I am kind of contractually obligated not to mention specific things. But I can discuss how I got to work on the project. See, in 2010, uh, we had built the Hyper Godzilla costume, and we went to our first ever G Fest. And everyone loved the costume, and while we were just sitting in the Tokusatsu room, just getting ready to suit up to go on a walkabout, because at the time I was not working for Dojo Studios, and one of the people who came by and saw the costume was the director for Notzilla, Mitch Teamley. And he came by because he saw the quality of the costume and wanted to pick our brains about how to build a costume like that. Well, he also handed us like a little pamphlet thing with like a little rundown of the plot and how the production was supposed to go. And he asked if, whenever they did get around to filming, if they could call us and pick our brains about how to build a costume. Which, we have no problem telling people how we do stuff. So we agreed. And then we heard nothing about the project for a long, long time. And I even like searching on the internet. It was listed as like a canceled film project. So I kind of figured that that was all the film was ever going to be. It was just this nice idea that never came to be. Well, a couple of years ago, we get a phone call, and it's Mitch, and he wants to, do like before and just pick our brains about how to build a costume. And during our conversation, he's like, well, you guys obviously know how to build costumes. Why don't you guys just build a costume? And, I was like ecstatic. I'm like, I get to build a costume that's actually going to be in a movie? Yes, please. And then during the course of the conversation, because these costumes are built to a person's body, I kind of needed to know the size of the potential suit actor who was going to be playing the character in the movie. And he's like, well, we'll find someone to do it. And just to make sure that, he was comfortable hiring us to do the effects work, I sent him sort of a demo reel of sorts where it was footage from Godzilla Battle Royale of the Hyper Godzilla and the Varan in action, and even sent him a link to G-Fanis Death Game. Because I had done all of the different monsters in that film and even played Karuta, and after he had reviewed the footage, he got back to me and he's like, why don't you just play the character? I mean, you obviously love doing this, and you know how to, run around in a big heavy rubber costume. Why don't you play the character for the film? Yeah, and again, it was like my mind was blown. It's like, first we get to build the props, and now I actually get to be the title character in a movie. Yes, all the yeses. So, we spent a month building the costume. Because whenever the film finally did get greenlit, it it was this very awkward production schedule because it was supposed to start production that year, but they needed to go through that state's like film commission company. It's like every state has like a film company to go through, and they had just missed the window for that year, but they were like top of the list for the following year. So almost a year afterwards, that's when we were told that the production was greenlit, but that filming was going to begin like that month. And fortunately, there was like a bunch of stuff to film with the actors before it got around to like the special effects stuff. So we had just enough time to build the Notzilla costume, and a couple of other props. I don't know if I can mention those. And like I said, we got it done just in time. And then we had to go up to Cincinnati, Ohio, where we just hung around on set for the first few days we were there because there was nothing scheduled with any of the things we had built. And so we got to like talk to the crew and the actors. Everyone there was so lovely. You know, I can't think of a single person who just rubbed us the wrong way. You know, it was like kind of like working on a project at a convention because of that family setting, and everyone was so nice and so gracious. And it was just like, as far as like working on a film, that was like the perfect first film to work on, just because everyone was so nice and willing to help each other out. Um, and then, you know, while we were there, it was kind of one of those things where everyone was rushed. So even the prop department was like building props during the filming. And since we really didn't have much to do while not being suited up, Dad and me would just go back and hang out with the effects crew and help them build props. There's even a couple of things in the film that I can actually point at and go, hey, I worked on that. And it's like the transformers on the power lines, those were actually my idea because we were trying to figure out something that we could use for those. And it was like the idea of push pins just popped in my head, and I was like, hey, can't we just use these? And so that's what they used. So I can actually take a little bit of credit for something that actually made it on screen other than just the things we had built at the shop here in Arkansas. So that is how I got to work on the film. You know, it was like just this glorious series of happenstance, you know, because that was the only year Mitch had been to G-Fest until the film was released. Or not released, but given its premiere screening. So if we hadn't had the Godzilla costume at that convention, we never would have gotten the opportunity to work on the film. So, by the grace of God, you know, we got to work on the movie. I am over my time limit because I try to keep these videos at like 7 minutes and 20 seconds around there. I'm a bit over. So, until the next video, I bid you guys adieu, and I hope that you guys have a blessed evening.